It was a great performance by Liverpool against Manchester United. Not many of us expected it to be so easy, and for that reason, I'm wearing black. I'm mourning the end of the Liverpool-Manchester United rivalry. Arne Slot came in and he conquered. The team looked amazing. It was an amazing, amazing performance, and we will now discuss, uh, five things that really caught our eye. Obviously, there are a lot of things that happened. We might miss some points, but to keep things short and simple, and obviously we picked out the five things that really stood out. So the first point, getting straight into it, was Casemiro's struggles in the midfield. The first two goals were mistakes by Casemiro that led to Liverpool punishing them. Mohamed Salah and Luis Diaz doing the damage. What did you think, Rohit? Was Casemiro really that? But he was sent. He was hooked off at halftime, so they brought in a youngster to replace him in halftime. So yeah,
What a fall from grace, right? When Casemiro had signed for Man United, I think he had famously said something like, "I will fix it. I know what the problems
you
are."
need Bob the
And
Builder to fix it, and even he can't do it
unfortunately,
anymore.
unfortunately, it's a fall from grace. And I don't know if you saw his wife tweeted after the game because he was getting so much, criticism. She tweeted all the trophies that he's won. His cabinet is filled with all of these Champions League and so on and so forth. But I think, yeah, Casemiro has definitely passed it, right? And he's been past it for the last couple of seasons, to be honest with you. I don't know why Man United took so much time to sign a replacement. They have Manuel Ugarte now. He couldn't play because I think he just signed, but I think he will improve them a little bit. But Casemiro's struggles and getting hooked off at halftime, is pretty sad to see, in my opinion.
Yeah. So one thing I just wanted to point out is that Casemiro struggled and he made two mistakes, right? But the rest of the team was just as culpable, I feel, because mistakes like that shouldn't lead to a goal so easily. This is what a lot of people have been saying. Like, we'll discuss the two teams and how they played, but I just think that Casemiro is being made a bit of a scapegoat. The third goal was
Good point.
Mino's fault a little bit,
Mhm.
and you'll see that at least in two of the goals, the fullbacks aren't anywhere in the defense. Like, where are they? So it's not just Casemiro. I think there are quite a few problems at United. So
I
yeah,
think that's a good way to segue into the next point, right? Like a broader picture,
yeah,
especially when it comes to the managers. And
yeah.
I texted you about this, right? The Battle of the Baldies has been
El
well and
Baldico.
truly won. Yeah, has been well and truly won by Slot. But what is fascinating to me is Slot has been at Liverpool for 3 months. I mean, about 3 months, maybe even less than that. And
Yeah,
Ten Hag has been at Man United for 3 years, right? How can a team, that's got a new manager 3 months into his reign look much more better, much more composed than somebody who's had a team for 3 years? And not just that, right? Over these 3 years, Ten Hag has gotten to recruit all of the players that he wants,
yeah.
right? All of the players who worked with him previously. And we've talked about it. We've made fun of Liverpool's transfer window, right? Slot has basically not gotten anybody, right? Apart from maybe Chiesa, who was not even on the bench. He's just moved in. So very interesting. So do you really think there's such a big chasm in like quality and class between Slot and Ten Hag, or is there something else going on?
So a lot of the fans were saying that they got the right Baldy, not us, but United got the right Baldy. So there is a school of thought or trade of thought from some United fans that I've read online is that uh, Ten Hag's not been given the players or the time to deal with the players because, yeah, so exactly that's my point also. Like, how can you say that he's been there for 3 years? United have backed him to the hilt. They got, I think he's got half of his Ajax team over right now.
Yeah,
And the one
yeah,
player
the
who
human fidget
starts,
spinner Anthony.
yeah, yeah, and the one player who started for us in that game was a former Ajax player, Ryan Gravenberch. He's the one that
Hmm.
Slot couldn't get. That Ten Hag couldn't get. So I don't think you can say something like, oh, he hasn't had time, he hasn't had players. No, no, he's had time. I can understand the first season things don't go well, but the second
Hmm.
season, the third season, the problem is I still don't understand what or how Manchester United play.
Hmm.
What is their
Agreed.
defining style? This is something we've spoken about earlier. Now, the other aspect that you look at is Liverpool's recruitment of Slot. When he was signed, a lot of Liverpool fans did not know who he was because we were linked with that
Hmm.
Portuguese Amorim. Yeah, we were linked with Amorim and we were supposed to get him and he turned us down, whatever that happened, and Slot came in. But when you read as to what he has done and who his influences are, he's talked about Pep, he's talked about Arteta, and he's talked about Klopp. So Liverpool's team is basically just transitioned into another manager who plays a similar brand of football. Maybe it's not an
Better, right?
evolution. Yeah,
Slightly.
it's not an evolution completely. It's just, certain things are slightly better. So you can see that certain players do better now. As in Dominic
Mhm.
Szoboszlai, he's actually looking like a
Yeah.
really, really good player.
I
Uh,
think everybody looked great in your lineup. I mean, if you told me, this is a new manager, just like the third game in charge, I would not
I
believe you, to
would
be very
exactly,
honest with
yeah.
you.
So it was amazing. It felt like one of those Klopp era games where they're
Yeah.
just pummeling the opposition. It could have been
Yeah.
six. And the
Yeah.
one thing I think is a positive for us is, sure, we didn't get signings, but the players played in a similar system earlier. Now there are
Mhm.
just tweaks into it, so they don't have to change that much of the playing style. I think that's really helped Slot. That's helped us because it's nothing too radically different from what Klopp does. And that, segues us into a third point that these are two
Mhm.
teams that were in completely different moods at Old
Yeah.
Trafford. So after, I think United did well in the first 5 or 10 minutes. But after that,
Yeah. Initially, it was looking like an interesting game, but it went south pretty quickly for United, right?
yeah. So after that, you could see that Liverpool have a certain game plan for this. Arne
Yes.
Slot spoke about this very eloquently after the match. Like
Yeah.
in 2 minutes, he dissected what United were doing last season and the season, and what Liverpool were planning to do. And I
Mhm.
like this from Slot. He's very straightforward. He doesn't beat around the bush. He was very critical also of a couple of players. So when they were asking him about the halftime talk, he said that I spoke to Luis Diaz and I think it was Szoboszlai or another player, I don't remember, that
Mhm.
they did not track back. And that's why United
Mhm.
got a couple of chances. So that was something he wasn't
Uh,
happy with, which is really refreshing because, normally you don't talk about that, but he does. And you saw that as the game went on, Liverpool became more and more confident. They were playing some great passes. They were doing those olays in the second half. And
yeah.
United were just, there was no plan. They were just bombing the ball, hoping something happens. Uh, exactly. Like, they're like two teams in two different routes. It was very, I think it's very concerning for Manchester United to be doing stuff like this still under Ten Hag.
Agreed.
What do you think?
I think by the end of the match, they only had like 25,000 people in the stadium left. I think everybody was so disappointed. Rightfully so, right? I think it's been many years of kind of dominance by Liverpool. I don't know. I think there's a lot of things to dissect here, right? Like, I also wanted to talk about how Slot has also seemed to have improved, like Luis Diaz's finishing. I don't know what. Like, he scored two goals, and the second goal was such an amazing goal. And I distinctly remember last year, Luis Diaz would miss so many good chances as well, right? And I think there's something to be said there. And I think we talked about the fact that Man United winning the FA Cup might have been a blessing in disguise for the rest of the league, right? What do you think about that? Like, because I know after the press conference, Ten Hag also brought that up, right? Hey, I won two trophies in the last two seasons, and use that as a basic kind of excuse. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so Ten Hag's the only, like, the manager that has won the most number of trophies in England, second to Pep Guardiola in those last two seasons. So that's something.
Mhm.
But it's very interesting you bring this up. I think those 115 charges that Manchester City have, they can be, removed, forgotten. Pep gave United and Ten Hag the FA Cup, and they can jump.
Mm.
United were millimeters away from getting kicked out of the FA Cup semi-final, if you remember. That was that
Ah,
offside goal in extra
yes.
time. So
Yeah, yeah,
they
yeah, yeah.
almost crumbled against, was it a League One side? I don't remember. League One or League
Yes,
Two.
I think so. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So uh, that's one thing. Now, I, I don't understand how, Ten Hag can use that as an excuse. So people do win trophies from time to time. I remember Roberto Martinez won the FA Cup with Wigan against Man City,
Yeah.
but that
Mhm.
doesn't make it like Wigan is only second to Man City, right? That's not something, and they got relegated the season after, I remember, or it was the same season, whatever. So I don't really understand how he can use that as any kind of a barometer for managing success.
Mhm.
This was brought up regarding Mikel Arteta also. I remember when he was struggling at Arsenal, he was trying to put his plans into place. There were a lot of people calling for his sacking, but you can see that he won the FA Cup, but then he's grown. He's grown that Arsenal team, and now you can
Yes,
see
exactly.
what they
An
play,
identity.
an
Yeah.
identity, how they play, and they're dominating teams. Let's be honest. But
Yeah,
you don't
yeah, yeah,
see that with
absolutely.
United at all. So I'm still at a loss as to what Ten Hag brings to the table apart from Ajax players signed for huge amounts. Like, I don't know. I don't know. So
Agreed. Okay, moving
it'll be
on.
interesting to see who they sign next. And speaking of signing next, we need to talk about the contract situation at Liverpool.
Yeah,
There were
nicely
two,
done.
yeah, thanks. So there were two really interesting bits that came out. Mohamed Salah openly said that this is his last season at the club, and
Yeah,
everybody,
I
the
loved it.
media, yeah, the media ran riot with it. This is his last season. This is his last season, but they didn't put the part after it in the titles. Is that he said that Liverpool have not made any contact with me as yet. It's up to them to decide what happens. So
Mhm.
obviously, if you're on the last contract, nobody said anything to you, you will leave. So I think this was a great move by Salah. FSG have done some really good PR work from time to time regarding who they buy, who they don't buy. Salah did this the last time also when his contract situation came up. Remember,
Mm.
2 years back, there was talk about him leaving and
Yeah.
all. And he signed a lucrative deal. He had this post on Twitter which went viral with him without his t-shirt or whatever. Now, there were doubts about Salah at the start of the season as to how he would fit into Slot's team, if he's athletic enough to continue, but we've seen that's not a problem at all. He's still in as good a form as he was 2, 3 seasons back. We should give him a new deal. I think this puts pressure on FSG, on Michael Edwards, on Richard
Yeah.
Hughes to get the ball rolling. Because I don't want a situation where we're in January, right? And he can decide
Mhm.
or, negotiate with Arab clubs or PSG or whoever it is. I'm sure Real Madrid can come after him. I know that they are rich with attacking options, but hey, it's the Galacticos. They can always do that. I don't want the same situation to happen with Virgil van Dijk also. I think he's also shown that he can play at the top level for
Mhm.
another 2, 3 seasons.
For sure. Like pretty flawless from him as well. Like he won almost all of his duels from what I remember.
Yeah. So there were a couple of instances where the ball eluded him, but that happens in
Mhm.
football. The second point that I wanted to bring up is that Trent Alexander-Arnold was ecstatic with the win. He's pointing to the crowd saying 3-0,
Yeah.
3-0 and all. I thought it was a little bit too much because we won 7-0 against them once. But he said to the camera, this was very interesting. He said that I'll be here back. Now that
Oh.
surely means that he will be signing a new contract. He said
He
something
just
along
wanted
these
to
lines.
kiss the camera again, man.
Maybe,
That's
maybe
what he
that
meant.
that was an amazing moment. It was exactly like what Steven Gerrard did against
Yeah.
United. The contract situations are very important at LFC. I think it's great that Salah did this. He puts pressure on them.
Mhm.
They have a month or so, 2 months, 3 months. I just don't want this to drag out till January. Just sit down with them,
Agreed.
get it done. If you don't want to keep them, say it openly that we do not want to keep you. We'll sell you in January, or you can
Yeah.
negotiate in January or whatever. Just don't keep it hanging. Uh, I think Klopp did a great thing.
So
Sorry. Yeah, yeah.
one thing I wanted to point out, I love the fact that you're saying negotiations between Salah and FSG and not negotiations between Salah and Liverpool, because clearly it's FSG who have the power here, right? And I mean, given the opportunity, I'm pretty sure Salah would like to stay at Liverpool, but I mean, FSG are his employers. I mean, I think he's completely right in asking for whatever he deserves. Yeah.
So Melissa Reddy, I think, tweeted today that Salah wants to stay, and it's up to
Uh-huh.
FSG to
Yep.
decide what happens. Now, Salah isn't just a normal Liverpool player. He is
Mhm.
a legend in the Premier League. I think
Absolutely.
he could be possibly the greatest African player ever to have graced the game. I know there was this weird comment by Yakubu saying that Drogba is better than Salah. Uh, but you look at the
I mean, at
consistency.
at at that at those echelons, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, I would definitely say he's one to, definitely. There's no question about it.
Yeah. So if you look at the numbers, Salah
Yeah,
beats almost everybody there is.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think he's the greatest right winger to play in the Premier League. Uh,
Hmm.
so if you have a generational talent, you can see that he isn't fading away. Just break
Yeah,
the
I
bank
mean,
for one player. Just break the
two
bank.
goals and two assists and one goal in the last two games, 6 goal contributions. I mean, that's elite. Yeah,
Yeah, and in the Premier League, and he plays
yeah,
almost every minute. He doesn't look tired. He's in the
yeah,
best shape of his life. Uh,
yeah.
so just break the bank and keep. So we've got three, in fact, generational talents. I would say four: Allison, Van Dijk, Salah, and Trent.
Oh, yeah.
Just keep them for as
Allison
long as you
was
can.
really good as well. That's a good point, right? I think I texted you about how good his saves were.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So and he's kept clean sheets in every game this season, thanks to the defense, obviously. But he also makes some big saves. So we've got 4 generational talents, and it's not like we're not a big club anymore. I mean, 10 years back, you could say we were struggling financially. It's not the same anymore. We have very good revenue sources. We have so many deals. We've expanded Anfield, bring in more fans. I
Yeah.
think there is a new suite or lounge or whatever for those big players and all that. So you can't tell me we don't have the money for this. We can and we will. We should do this. It's up to FSG. I mean, even Slot's not in the picture anymore. Earlier, Jurgen Klopp used to have a bit of a say in all this. Slot's
Yeah.
just the coach. He's not even a manager. He's a
I
coach.
like that actually. I really like that. You kind of separate the first team and the coaching and the footballing aspects from all of this monetary aspects and contracts and everything. I think that's good.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, we got to speak about Mohamed Salah and how he's made Old Trafford and Manchester United his, I can't say it on YouTube, so you can just fill it up. I'll just
Favorite hunting ground.
favorite hunting ground, yeah, FOPG. So just looking at the records, it's just insane. I mean, Salah has scored 7 goals in 7 straight games versus Manchester United. He's also the highest scoring visiting player at Old Trafford in Premier League history. I was seeing another podcast earlier. He has scored, I think, 10 goals in against Manchester United in the Premier League, I believe. Only one other player has scored 10 goals away from home at another club, against another club. And that's Alan Shearer against Leeds United in Premier League history.
Oh, wow.
That's it. Nobody else. No Thierry Henry, no Ronaldo, nothing. And it just goes on and on and on. So he's been involved in 17 goals against Manchester United in the Premier League era. That's 11 goals and 6 assists. And sorry, 18. Oh, they fixed the stat there. And this is now some of these are just insane. So Mohamed Salah is the 5th highest goal scorer in the Premier League. I think in the Premier League, yeah, at Old Trafford since January 2021.
Wow.
So there's Marcus Rashford with 31, Bruno Fernandes with 29, Cristiano Ronaldo with 17, Scott McTominay with 13, and then Mohamed Salah. So
Wow.
he's scoring more goals than the likes of Anthony Martial and all in that club. Is there any other fact? No, there are no. I think there was
I
one
think
question.
it's definitely the theater of Salah's dreams. I don't know about who else's dreams, but they're Old Trafford.
Insane as to how he's performed time and again at Old Trafford. And he just keeps on doing it. That's the thing. There's no fall off from him.
Give him his extension.
Give him his extension. Yeah, just finish it off. Give it to him. I don't know why we are dilly-dallying about it, but that's going to be a huge talking point in the coming months and weeks for sure, because FSG did nothing in the transfer window except for signing a goalkeeper that's supposed to join us 2 years from now. And which is again another talking point, because what are you going to do with Allison? He should play another 4 years. And we got Chiesa in. So we have like 3 months before, I think December or something. So get it done. Make sure that these 3 people are there. Yeah, these 3 guys are there. I don't really think anything else should be talked about right now.
Okay, I think that wraps it up for today. Those were the top 5 talking points in the main match this weekend, United versus Liverpool. Thank you again for joining in, and please comment, like, subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends. Let us know, what we're doing right, what you want to hear, and so on and so forth. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.